So, my last topic leads me to briefly mention a topic that was on Lapeef's Let's Talk and also the Poor Man's Podcast. And the question was asked in different ways. Can women be trusted? And my answer is going to be, it depends. And I'm going to tie this into fatherhood, but I just wanted to kind of segue into that. I say it depends because I think about myself. When I was younger, like so many women, I was not very responsible, accountable, or completely honest with myself when it came to relationships, even though I kind of told you why some of the contributing factors I believe. But I wasn't responsible. I did not was not honest with myself because I really didn't know myself. I didn't understand what I really wanted, what I wanted to be to a man, what I could offer, and what I expected. So when you're insecure and not honest with yourself, you can become desperate. And desperation can lead to manipulation. What kind of manipulation? Well, I'm glad you asked. Manipulation to the extent of lying about being pregnant. Oh, that's never happened. Or being negligent about taking my birth control, which ultimately did result in me getting pregnant. That never happens either. I wasn't ready to have a child, but I was in love, or I believed that I was in love, and thought by carrying his child would work in my favor, that he would cling to me. So in that case, no, I couldn't be trusted. I couldn't be trusted because I couldn't even be trusted with my own self or to my own self. So there's no way in the world I could have been honest and trustworthy to someone else. Now, in all fairness to me, there were a few things that he didn't do and wasn't honest about either. But it did not and does not excuse my actions. Because, my daughter's father and I both grew up poor. The last thing we wanted to do was to have children outside marriage, but we did. But we did not continue that cycle. Neither one of us have had any other children. So I don't know how my husband kept from having more children, and it's not my business, but he knew that he did not want to continue to have children out of wedlock, and he didn't. So our daughter is his only child and my only child. And the relationship that they've had has had its challenges, but like I said before, I could tell my daughter how proud of her I am all day long, but I tell you, it is absolutely nothing compared to when she hears it from her father or when he shows up at an event. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. Now, I want you to think about this, man, because it is true that we women can ensure that if we don't want to get pregnant, that we won't get pregnant, or that we don't get pregnant in a time when contraception is so readily available. But you men, you also need to think about the women that you're having unprotected sex with. And when you are doing that, ask yourself, is this the kind of woman that I would want to have my children? And if the answer is no, then you need to do your part too, because I've already explained to you what I did. I've already explained to you that, over the course of my life, in my early years, I lied and said I was pregnant when I wasn't. And then later, when I ultimately did get pregnant, I got pregnant. Why? Because I was not being responsible with taking the birth control pills. So again, that happens. So you can't control what women do, but you definitely can control what you do, and ask yourself, is this the kind of woman that I would want to have my child? What kind of mother would she make? You have to ask yourself, who are you choosing? Because it has to be more than getting off. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. And another thing, going back to that point, if we don't want to get pregnant, we won't. Because once I had my daughter, I never got pregnant again. Why? Because I made sure I took my birth control like I should have been doing in the first place. So it can be done. And that was 27 plus years ago. So continuing on, can women be trusted? I think about my nephew. My firstborn nephew, he had his first son at 22. His mother and I wanted something different for him because he's an extremely talented musician. He models and he is fine. Okay? Fine. Regrettably, him and his son's mother, they didn't work out. But he loves his son. Was very proud of his son. Son, a good-looking kid, just like he was a good-looking man. I remember him posting a whole lot of pictures of him and my grandnephew online, showing how much he loves his son, talk about how much he loved his son, showing the good time that they had and all these things. And I remember telling him that he needed to be mindful of how much he posts about his son. Because I knew the mind of women. Why? Because I am one. And I told him, if they see how much you love and care for your son because they want to be with you because you're out there, you're a musician, and nothing is more sexy than a musician, they'll think, well, gosh, since he loves his son that much, I know that he would love my son if I had his child. I also told him, do not ever underestimate a woman who believes she's in love. Because once she believes she's in love, all rationale goes out the window. And I said, if you're not ready to have any more children, you need to be mindful of that. Little did I know I was too late. His girlfriend was pregnant with would be his second son. And so he later told me, until you were right. I said, I'm not stupid. I just look this way. So in that case, no, we couldn't be trusted, but the end result is that he loves his sons. And now that they're here, he has a responsibility to them. And that includes working with the mothers. It's not always easy. I've seen it. Shoot, I've experienced it. I've been involved in it. It's not always easy, but at the end of the day, the child does not care how hard it was for you. Doesn't care. It don't make a damn bit of difference. At the end of the day, they want to know, why weren't you there? They don't need to know, don't care to know the difference between the differences between you and their mother. It matters not. So if you don't want any children, again, yes, it's the woman's responsibility, but it's yours too, because see, now we need fathers more than ever. We need fathers to help our sons grow into men, but we need fathers to help our daughters realize that they are worth it. They are worth it. And I give an ode to stepfathers because my dad didn't have to do that, but he did. And I love him for that. And I know there's a lot of talk if there's really no benefit to being a stepfather. I disagree with that. Each person has to make their own choice. But what you pour into a child's life makes the difference. And of course, it depends on when you come into their life. In my case, my dad, had me as got me as a baby. And if they're, 5 and under, your chances are greater as opposed to when they're older, because they're formed, their thought patterns, their behavior patterns. But there are benefits. But you find what works for you. But the benefits can be great. Not in all situations, but they can be great. So that's my little ode and advice and encouragement to fathers now and future fathers. Take care.